I had a real panic last year about getting older.
Sorry, just quickly, how old are you?
Let's just say I'm teetering on the big 4-0.
Teetering. I've been pushed way beyond that, so come on then. This is our second After Work Drinks episode, so thank you both for returning to the sofa.
Thank you.
Hannah White, MD of NCA, and Tom Ghiden, MD of JOAN London.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming back, you guys. So part of our After Work Drinks is you've brought a drink in, and you're going to explain to me why you've chosen said drink.
This is, but I also love a Diet Coke. So this is a Diet Coke, a Sublime Lime Diet Coke, where they have the lime flavoring, which is my jam. And I get them into the office, and everyone else hates them, but it's good because I get all of them.
Okay, Hannah, what did you choose?
I've gone down the route of a hot chocolate, which I didn't really read the room as you guys are having iced drinks. It's just a delicious Costa hot chocolate.
You two have met, but not in real life. Is that correct?
That is.
On the phone.
On the phone. We had like phone.
Very 80s power vibes.
But it was a great phone call.
I think about it often.
I do too. I think we started talking about work, but then we just got into like our like
people we know
and like our like emotional. We talked about like love. Remember, I feel like we went to this deep meeting about like what love means and all this thing, and I was like, I love you. You get it. You get it. And it was like a really nice meet cute.
And then we've been working ever since to get back together. So this is perfect. This is a perfect.
You have solved this problem for us.
Return to the office. Okay, so
I've got a lot of thoughts on this.
This is great. So have I. WPP have just mandated 4 days back in the office.
Yeah.
There's a lot of companies going back to 5. How do you both feel about the move for WPP from 4 days? Especially, I guess, Hannah, because NCA was always all about flexi working. So I'm just super interested. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to any of this, by the way. It's just an interesting debate.
I genuinely think creative businesses, the magic happens when we are together. And I do think that's true. I've always thought that's true. But our flexible policy was always built on trust. And I think where you get to 4 days a week and us adopting that, I don't want to lose the trust that we have with our people, which is, within that 4 days, is there flexibility? Yes. Can you do pick off and drop off or whatever it is in your life that you need to do around those core hours? Yes. And that there are going to be some circumstances where people need to flex that and talk to us about that. And we need to make that work. So I don't actually have a problem with the ambition. And I think part of the reason our flexi policy works so well is actually people love coming into the office. If no one was there, would we have had that policy? Maybe not.
So 4 days with flex.
Yeah, I want that people to still feel that they can make it work for them.
We try to be in 3 days.
Yeah.
But it's not a mandate. But for me, the big thing that, Kirsty, our ECD, and I have always said is like, we want to create an environment that people are desperate to be in.
Want to hang out.
Because and then what has happened is people are in 3 days or 4 days because they want to be, because they know it's going to be fun. They know that there's going to be some good laughs. They don't want to miss out.
You want to be part of that room where the idea happens.
But that's something that like we've had to mandate, and we've had to deal with that within our agency. Even though we're sort of a smaller team, we've had to be very careful and clear about, there's so many of us are parents, and we've had to say like, we need, this day is my pickup and this day I have to do drop off, and allowing for that flexibility, I think, creates a better environment. And it also means that people are smarter when they are working because they have to make sure that their life works around it.
So this year we went from hybrid, 3 days a week in with flex, to remote based on talent. And I am missing some of the buzz,
the energy,
of just communicating with my team.
Totally.
And talking about crap, like non-work crap. And you can only do so much of that when you're on Zoom. And so having done both, I'm thinking, God, we're better together.
Totally. I always say, the thing that I always think about is, when we started, and I don't know about you, but the people I started my first job when I was an AE are still to this day some of my closest friends. Because there is a community that is created when you are hungover on a Friday and you're sitting next to each other every single day. And
the in-outs, the life of that. It's your life outside of work.
And also the amount that you learn when you are just constantly surrounded by other people, your management, etc.
I can just go and grab you for 2 seconds and put in a formal Teams call.
And not even grab you, like the amount that I can witness you doing when it's not just turn off Zoom, but like as you walk to the water, how do you talk to the client? When you walk, like how do you interact with different people? That's things that even subconsciously I'm taking in and learning. The next generation, we have people who have never worked 5 days a week in the office on our team, which shocks me and makes me feel terribly old. I think that there's so much that can be gleaned, both from a personality and knowledge perspective, from being in together more often.
I think it's hypocritical of us to brief people to get close to their clients and watch them do that and try and do that. And us say to our clients, we want more time together, when we are not providing that internally for our teams. Because the creativity is going to flow if we are together.
I would hope that a leadership team would want to be in as much as possible, because I think that's the other place that we're failing. Is I think so many leaders are like, well, I've done the hard graft. I did 5 days, so I'm going to not come in all that often. And I think more junior staff members to be like, well, if my boss isn't in, why do I have to be in 5 days? My push would be to really encourage leadership to be in as much as possible.
That's such a good point, I think, because also when that leadership chemistry is right, it's the most infectious thing. When you see founders who really, you know why they're successful because they have what the other one doesn't have, or the jokes or the banter between, all of that. That's really hard to do again over teams entirely.
And I think to the point we're just saying, I think of the people that I've been inspired in my career, the leaders that I've been inspired by, and so much of that is things that I gleaned maybe subconsciously. It isn't necessarily how they acted in the meeting. It's how they acted after the meeting. It's how they acted in the hallway.
Getting a tea, yeah.
Exactly. It's how they acted in like little personal moments when they asked you about their personal life, etc. And I think that so much of that communication is lost when we're on Zoom. And so I think we need to get back to that.
JOAN Creative is all about joyful rebellion.
Yes.
So what's your most joyfully rebellious, it's harder to say than you think, act of 24, both as a company and individually?
Towards the end of the year, we did a project called Unsnatchable. We learned that every 6 minutes, a phone is snatched in London.
Yeah, that's happened to me.
But we basically were like, we need to do something about it. And we sort of created this phone case that couldn't be snatched, and it just took off. People were so excited about it and understood the insanity of it, and that we were sort of taking the piss but doing it in a creative way in order to inspire change. And that to me is the kind of work that just sort of I want to be doing more of.
What about personally?
This year I went to Glasgow. My other half has been to Glasgow 14 times, loves it. And I think, and you'll probably know this, once you have a kid, like all of these parts of your life change. And it reminded me that I am still fun. I'm not, dad is part of me and MD is part of me, but like I can still be that other part of me. As someone who hasn't done that in a long time, it felt like a really joyful, rebellious thing to do.
We all change and we all change and evolve. But I definitely feel like because my priorities right now with the kids and the business, I've lost a little bit of reminding myself not who I was but who I still am deep down inside.
Yeah, totally.
And so I think that's a brilliant example of prioritizing the fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Scurrying off to book a holiday after this maybe. Hannah, same question to you.
Joyful rebellion from a business point of view. Actually, I do think joining Ogilvy does give us a really clear space to play in that joyful rebellious space. Not to say we clearly need to be less rebellious in terms of things like timesheets. NCA, if you're watching this, seriously. But that that is going to be our role, where we are sort of the boutique in the network, and we hope to over time become the jewel in the crown of one of the biggest advertising agencies in the world. So I think there's a real fun role that we can play. And then, personally, I thought this was a really good question, and this is so not rebellious. I am not a rule breaker. This should not be rebellious, but like to me is. So anyway, go with me here. So often, I think particularly with having a daughter, and I try to get home for bath time, put her down, and as discussed last time, find that process so exhausting. And then just go by kind of rote, okay, I'll go back to I'll keep working through my to-do list and like do another 2 hours or whatever, or an hour, kind of half watching something, half talking to my husband, but not really doing anything. It's like, actually, do you really need to do that? Do you, like, how urgent is that? Or could you do it on the way in, on the train, in half the time? I think I was starting to do that at the end of last year and want to take that forward into next year.
Someone asked me what I do for myself, and I sort of couldn't answer that question. And it was really sad. And so I think that's absolutely something you need to do. It's doing something for yourself, but it's also like the single-minded focus. So when you're scrolling and you're watching TV, let's be honest, you're not watching TV, you're just at work still, or you're, I realised I'd done that for the 9 years I'd run my business. So this is my thing where I'm like, okay, I'm going to give things single focus from now on. You've both worked in New York and London.
Yes.
How do you feel the creative industry compares in the two cities?
I actually think the UK is really quite different in the way that we, in the best way, sort of love, craft and care and storytelling. And I think that style is quite different. And I love that about British advertising.
Tom?
The thing I love about America is it's just everything's so big. The budgets are so big. The agencies are so big. So there's a sense of like, you can sort of do anything and everything.
Yeah.
And I think what I love about the UK is we don't have that. So we have to be more considered, more thoughtful and more crafted. How do we think about this problem with this budget? How do we make this something that can reach the people we need it to in a thoughtful way? And I love that. That to me is, it allows you to sort of work with a different part of your brain.
I always heard that the work in New York was more strategically focused.
I sort of disagree.
No, I almost go the
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
the same.
I think London is the home of planning.
Yeah.
I think everything is so strategic here in terms of, again,
And clients are looking for that, right? They go
clients
like,
expect that.
why are you saying that? Like, what's the?
Yeah.
They want that build. I would say in my experience more.
yeah,
perhaps.
totally.
Guys, thank you.
you.
Let's do a last little cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming back.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Oh,
being
it's so great to be back.
Thank you.
such chemistry and energy-filled guests. I thought you guys might get on really
Really?
well.
IRL.
I know, finally.
Good to know it wasn't just a phone thing.
Also, just FYI, I'm quite good at matchmaking. What English habit can you not get your head around?
Baked beans. I hate them. I don't get it.
Staple.
They shouldn't come with breakfast.
Sure, your breakfast is so dry.
It's like lubrication for your breakfast.
That, wow.
It's just-